Hello, and thank you for watching this video maintenance guide for your new Auroria sander. There are three things that you need to do on a semi-regular basis. The first one we're going to do is cleaning the chuck. The chuck is what holds the burrs in place. So the items that you need just normal 3-in-1 oil. You need a bottle or a can of air, and this would be something you might get, like it says here, at Staples, that would blow off your computer keyboard or something like that. Those two pieces come in the bag with your machine. That little stick is just representing a burr. That's a cleaning brush, and that's a pipe cleaner. So those are the items that you need to do this routine maintenance, usually monthly, to clean the chuck. So the first thing you have to do is make sure that that blue button is forward. That opens the chuck. Then you take the first instrument. It has sort of ridges on it, and we're going to use that to take off this top cap. Lefty-loosey, so turn it to the left or counterclockwise. And after you get it loosened, you can take it off the rest of the way like I'm doing there. Now that piece in the very center is the chuck, and we need to get that out in order to clean everything. So here's a second piece that comes with your unit. I'm going to place that around the chuck and hold it with my hand so it does not rotate, and then put this section of that first tool into the chuck and then turn it left, again to loosen it, left to loosen. And this takes quite a few turns, and you just keep going. This is dislodging it from the housing. So I'm going to check now. That might be enough to take it off. So I'm going to check, and it won't fall out, and I can't pull it out. So I didn't quite do enough turns. So I'll put this back on and put that in the end of it and give it a few more turns to the left. You have to get in there just right. And of course, you're going to reverse this sequence when you put it back together. Let's try it again. Take both those pieces off. Sometimes it drops out, but usually you have to pull it, and there it goes. That's the collet. That's the collet and chuck. The wider portion at the top is the top of it, where you insert the burrs. It's the bottom section of that we're going to use the oil on. So I'm going to first use a brush, and by the way, brushes do come with your unit. It should have been in with the instruction book. So I'm going to clean it out with the brush. And maybe a pipe cleaner. You get those at most craft stores, like Joann Crafts, that kind of thing. A lot of dust gets in there during your foot care. Now I'm going to use the air and blow in there and make sure all the dust and anything else is out of there. Now I'm going to take that air can and really give it a nice solid blow in there and all around where that chuck was, and then in the hole that takes the suction up, takes all that dust back into the filters. So I do a lot with this to blow it all out, because a lot of that dust gets stuck in the pipe, in the tubing there. Now I'm going to take just a very small drop of oil and put it on the bottom, the straighter side of the chuck. I'm going to wipe the rest off my glove. You don't want much at all, just a little bit. Now I'm going to drop it back in. I've cleaned everything and blown it out. Now I'm going to reverse that process and put that outside cap back on. First I have to tighten the chuck. Now I'm going to twist it to the right to tighten. And just keep going till it's tight. Don't over tighten it. There you go. I use a lot of air. I use it quite a bit to get out any debris because the buildup will make it difficult for your machine to work properly. Now we're going to put that cap back on the top, kind of finger tighten it, and then use that special instrument that comes with it to tighten it the rest of the way. And you do this about once a month, depending on how much you use it. It's better to do it too often than not often enough. Now remember that it's the blue button is pushed forward to open it up, and that's how you would insert a mandrel, a burr. And it was tight in there. Now I push the blue button forward, it comes out. Now I'm going to put it back in and turn the blue button back, and now it's tight again. So I know that I got the chuck in there properly. Let's talk about cleaning the filters in there. This is every 50 hours. So, but you're supposed to check it about every 10 hours. This is the HEPA bag, and as you can see, I have 6/1 on there. That is the day that I put that last bag on. So that makes it easier for me. The machine has its own not printout, but in the display screens, it will tell you. But I like to have my own timing on there. I just write it on. So here's a new filter bag. They come in a pack of 2, as you just saw. I'm going to mark this one for the date that I'm replacing it, 7/1. Now, it's just a rubber gasket, kind of like on a vacuum cleaner. You stick your finger in there to widen that hole. It makes it much easier to put on because you do not want that to bend. Here's a fun picture I thought you might like. It's a different HEPA bag, but you can see we cut it open to show 1 month worth of toenail dust. So you want to handle this carefully when you take it out. And I would wear a mask if I were you. You do not want to breathe this. And don't cut the bag open. That was just for this demonstration. Okay, so I'm going to spray out that entire section. I'm going to spray in the air hose again, the other direction from what we did before. That little filter that I'm touching right now is a special one that only needs to be changed every 200 hours. So I'm going to make sure that I get this one, the HEPA, on snugly, but I don't want to bend that cardboard. I want to straighten it out in the little area there and put the magnetic lid back on. Okay, so let's look at some of the specifically how to use the machine itself. You saw I just pushed on the on button at the lower right there. There are 3 memory buttons, M1, M2, M3. And you can see that the number on the RPM, now it says 6,000, changes. I can also change the suction level. That's what those buttons are for. If you can see the screen above it, now it's at suction level 2, suction level 1. Now back up, suction level 2, suction level 3. You can do memory for any of those combinations. So for instance, and that's anti-clockwise and clockwise. For certain burrs, especially the carbide burrs, and if you're left-handed, you might need to use the anti-clockwise or the counterclockwise. Otherwise, you won't use that button too much. Okay, so I've changed the RPM, and now I'm holding that M1 button down, and then it saves it. So now I'm going to change I'm going to see number 2 is at 15,000. I had changed number 1 to 9,000. So let's change one of them to 13,000. So I'm going to hold down the number 2. And then it says saved there on the right. So now number 1 is 9, number 2 is 13, number 3 is 18. Let's change number 3 to 25. So now I'm just going to hold that button down until it saves it. And it says saved. So 9, 13, 25. And you can do any combination you want, any combination of RPMs and suction for each level, each of the memory levels. So there I'm going to change it down to suction level 4, and now it saved that. So makes it much easier if you, most of us have combinations that we use quite a bit. Okay, this button on the handpiece, this square button, is the hand controller. We, in our clinic, have the box here down closer to the floor, so we operate it from the handpiece. If you hold it down like I am there, it turns the machine on or off. You have to hold it down. There, I push that blue button forward to take the burr out, and now I'm going to push it back to hold it in place. I'm going to hold that button down to turn the machine on, and then I'm just going to hit it short times to make it make the RPMs change. Sorry, it's off screen there a little bit. It'll show it in just a second. Okay, I'm holding it down, and that turned it off. Push the button forward, take the burr out, put the burr back in, and then tighten it by pulling that blue button back. Okay, so here's the manual that comes with your unit, and please do read that before you get started with anything. It has a lot of information, of course. Couple of things. Maintenance overview. This is what we looked at. Cleaning the chuck. That's the first thing we did today. Do that monthly. Changing that microfilter. That is the HEPA bag, about every 50 hours of operation, but check it frequently. And changing that control unit filter, that's that little white one that was more like 200 hours. This is important, common errors. For the most important part here, if there's any kind of noise or vibration, it's probably because your burr is bent, the shaft of the burr. You cannot do that. It will hurt your machine. So stop it, pull the burr out, and if the burr is bent, the shaft of it, throw it away. The final thing to talk about are these burrs. There's a huge variety of materials, grits, sizes, styles. The thing I want to talk about mostly here today is the thickness, the width of them. So on the far right, it's quite a wide burr. The ones in the middle are quite skinny. That makes a difference in the speed. A minute ago, we were trying to set the RPMs, which is the speed that the burr is turning. It makes a difference how wide it is. Here's a chart that goes from the widest burr at the bottom to the skinniest burr at the top. And you can see that goes from maybe 5,500 RPMs up to 45,000 RPMs, but most don't go that fast. 25,000 would be a normal high for a really skinny burr, and 5 to 10 or 15,000 for the wider burrs. But this is kind of a general chart to go by. So I hope that helps when you're deciding your RPMs. I hope this has been helpful. I hope you enjoy your new machine and that this will give you some of the information you need to get started without any problems. Take care.